Recently, I made a video about my best sound design tips, but I forgot the most important one of all. I had this written on my whiteboard for months so I wouldn't forget it. So, what does it mean? It means objectivity. It means that when you're cranking away on a sound or a piece of music for hours and hours, you lose all sense of whether it works and if it's readable, and really what it sounds like to an external audience who's never heard it before. You get so used to the thing you have no idea if it's even good anymore. I've had moments where I rendered out a sound and sent it to a client and then immediately found a million things wrong with it. What the f is this? And I have to go and redo it. After I took it out of my DAW, I'm suddenly seeing it the way the client sees it, not as a thing that I just spent 3 hours tweaking in Reaper. When artists have been staring at their work for hours, they flip the canvas to get a different perspective on it, and it's much easier to see their mistakes. Think about it. Nobody knows that you just spent 6 hours toiling away, twiddling knobs, pressing keys, arranging and rearranging, tweaking this parameter just so. Your audience is completely divorced from all that, and they see the thing exactly as it is. Does it read well? Does it serve its purpose in the game? Is it easily understood? Does it elevate the player's experience? Does it feel good? Something switches in your brain when you take a song out of your DAW and into your car. You're listening in a different way. Your perspective shifts, and suddenly you're hearing it the way that everyone else might be hearing it for the first time. If you write music, I know you've had this situation where your mix is perfect, and you come back to it the next morning with fresh ears and you go, what is this? If you're a game dev, I know you've had a time where you couldn't effectively playtest your game anymore because you're way too close to it. You've been slumped over your keyboard for 8 hours adjusting this parameter or trying to figure out why the player doesn't jump anymore. You don't have that beginner's mind about it, and you don't see the flaws. You have to back away from it to see the full picture. For another example, I've had so many times where I send something over and the client says, okay, it's cool, but what if it was more like X? And their suggestion is precisely what my gut instinct was. I had an immediate intuition before sitting down to design about what that sound should be, and I lost sight of it somewhere along the way. One thing to do, and this is going to sound silly, but record a really quick vocal scratch take of what you think this should sound like before you start getting your hands dirty. That first impression you have about how something should sound, that's your lodestar. It's correct 99% of the time. Then you always have that initial idea to keep you on track. Another way to battle this is to have a temp track in place. We don't want to copy verbatim, of course, but again, it's a way of keeping us on course. And so that's what I mean when I say take it for a walk. Bring it out of your studio, put it on some headphones, play it in the car, on the TV, whatever, and hear it the way everyone else hears it rather than as this mad scientist who hasn't left the lab in 48 hours. Get some distance from the thing and the flaws are suddenly glaring. We can get so laser focused on hold everything under a microscope that we forget what it even looks like to the naked eye anymore. And I know sometimes it's hard to pry yourself away and take a break. And we don't always have the luxury and the time to treat every single asset this way. If you can't do that, try to switch your playback system. Listen on a phone speaker. Airfoil lets you output Reaper to your iPhone, and suddenly you have a very different perspective. Put it out on the laptop, render it out, and view it as a video instead of somebody actively adjusting things in your DAW. Listen in mono, listen in Winamp.
It really whips the llama's ass.
So, yeah, the other tips were a bit more technical, tangible things where this one is, I don't know, philosophical, but losing perspective is the greatest pitfall of making anything. Anyway, I hope this is helpful to you and that you maybe think about it before you send over your next asset.
Goodbye!